I'm not much of a single-player game guy, except for Minesweeper. We can look at Avowed before you buy, real quick. Some sort of, like, solo, some sort of, like, not solo, sorry. Some sort of linear Skyrim, something like that. I don't know. Let's take a quick peep at what Avowed is.
Hey, we're back with another episode of Before You Buy. That show where we give you some straight-up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. As usual, it's me, Jake Baldino, and today we're talking about Avowed.
This just makes me want to play Vermintide.
This is Xbox and Microsoft's big bet on Obsidian.
Agent N, once again, with the zero taste.
They're a legendary studio of RPG builders, and this is their newest. It's been
legendary studio of RPG builders. Sounds like you're talking about a workshop in Palestine.
Years in the making. It's probably Obsidian's biggest game yet, so let's just jump into it. And just
the characters all have that look. This is worse than Bean Mouth cartoons.
You know, I've been playing a review copy, and this footage is captured running on an
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 won't let you not help the Jews, so it's like voting in real life.
Xbox Series X in performance mode. So to just jump right in, to not mince words, Avowed is a pretty good time so far. For me, it's good, not great. As someone who saw the trailers and wasn't really very interested, I was pleasantly surprised. Long story short, it's very fun to play, but
it's very fun to play. Why does he sound pained? You don't sound happy at all. This is not the voice of someone who has just had fun.
I haven't really been enjoying the story or characters, which is significant. Look.
It's fun to play, he says, mantling a rock. You mean, it's fun! This is copium. It's fun to run around in a circle, look at the environment, and jump on rocks. You know? The only problem is literally everything else about it. Okay.
A lot of the loot, dialogue, and RPG systems feel kind of streamlined in the background, but not necessarily dumbed down. It's creatively done.
Streamlined, but not dumbed down. This is... Are you paid? Like, I get that you're not exactly, you know, putting on a pedestal. You're not saying it's an amazing piece of art or something. You're being moderately critical, but it's streamlined, but not dumbed down. Shut up. That's like the marketing department of these.
The world itself is vibrant and really, really unique, and the combat is like fast, more responsive, it's punchier than it looks, and it's really fun and encourages you to mix it up. Moment to moment, running around.
It looks horrendous, bro. This looks like an alpha test pre-production of Dishonored or something.
World blasting ghouls and monsters and men. Avowed is fun. Unfortunately, it's the story and some of the characters and the lore and just how...
No, that looks unbelievably terrible. I'm sorry.
It all really goes
I don't know how you can have eyes and think that looks okay at all.
Down. That didn't really do it for me personally. It didn't grab me enough to really hook me in like I expect these games should. That's pretty subjective though. You know, it's going to really come down to you and your individual preferences.
It looks even stiffer than Skyrim.
Explain that in a little bit, but the setup is that Avowed takes place in the world of Eora. This is the previously established world from Obsidian's great Pillars of Eternity.
Asmongold gave it a 7 out of 10. Doesn't that baseline for him just mean he could progress through it by doing the bare minimum and just left-clicking or something?
Eternity games. This comes with a lot of positives. It's not just like knights and swords and goblins and trolls. There's pirates, there's gunpowder, there's rifles, and all...
It's all in the bazaar as well.
Different manner of like weird, strange creatures and cool factions that don't just feel like boilerplate generic fantasy stuff. The Pillars of Eternity baggage can seem daunting, especially if you haven't played them, but Avowed smartly sequesters you to a setting.
Doesn't that just look incredibly stupid? Stabbing people up close with a dagger in first-person games always looks so dumb. It's like you're smelling their waist. Thank you for the sub. It's like you're just sniffing them. It's so weird. It always looks terrible.
For their game specifically to focus on here, the Living Lands region. So you're sent by the Big Empire as an envoy to this dangerous place to get to the bottom of a mystery plague that is growing and threatening the world. This is a nasty plague called...
And like, stabbing people in these games never feels like you just stab them with a knife. It's silly. Always feels like I'm playing laser tag. I don't know.
Dream Scourge that can bring things back to life but make them nasty monsters. This is more significant here because one of the main themes of the world of Eora is
things being brought back to life, but being all messed up and evil. He's right. There's nothing generic about this fantasy at all.
Is reincarnation and how the gods and lives and multiple lives
19
live
damage, 19 heckin' damage.
So you create your character from the ground up and head for the shores of the living lands. And the character creator is solid. Lots of freedom and room for creativity without being overwhelming and like a bajillion sliders. And the ability to toggle all sorts of things, including like your character's special inherited.
How does one get kicked out of a place that never allows you to leave? Why are you showing me mushroom eyes in the
godlike
Discord?
Appearance features. So
hope I'm well. I'm pretty good. I'm on gigabit symmetrical internet. We're on 1 gigabit up, 1 gigabit down.
you can have like weird glowy things or magical flower mushrooms growing out of your face to go with the lore, or you can turn it off if you just want to look like a cool guy or a girl. Building your character, you have attributes that when you level up, you earn a point to increase
Crazy.
one of these. There's might for damage and carrying capacity. There's constitution for health, dexterity for attack speed,
Constitution increases your liberty stat.
and action speed, perception for critical hit chances and better range, intellect increases your essence for magic, but also your resistance, and resolve for stamina and
So it's like a little crunch together of intelligence and wisdom.
revive bonuses. So all of these go hand in hand really well and encourage you leaning towards what interests you, but not completely hard locking you into like one play style.
Damn, sounds like meaningless number go up. Nice.
Perception helps with the range, yes, so you can
No matter what you do, you'll be okay and able to do everything, is what I hear. There is just like zero character to this RPG.
be a ranged character and lean into that. But hey, you might also like melee. So, at least dumping points into this also helps with your critical hit chances. These are smart choices and makes spending attribute points, which
It means the dumb shits who play the game can't brick their character or feel bad about anything ever. That's what it means. That's what it means. If the dumbest motherfucker to play the game will still do okay.
you can also reset and
That is definitely going to be why they design it this way.
anytime. Just makes it like fun and flexible. That's kind of the theme with a lot of the gameplay and systems here. When you level up, you also have an ability tree where you can unlock new stuff. Passive buff type stuff, as well as active abilities to use on the fly that I'll explain a little bit more later. You can also unlock new abilities for your companions. Now, those attributes, depending on if you have enough points spent in one of them, unlock potential conversation response options when you're talking to NPCs.
Never seen it before.
These are moment-to-moment conversations.
This video is like me trying to explain new RPGs to my grandma. By new, I mean ones that came out within the last 20 years, by the way. At this point, within the last 25 years.
Things that don't usually amount to anything drastically world-changing or like Mass Effect-y, but they're like pats on the back for having enough points in that area. There are specific few points where it does become more important.
It's almost not worth mentioning. It would only really be worth mentioning the absence of such a system because it's so standard now.
But like I said, moment to moment, it's just there for story and dialogue. It's not necessarily like a roll of the dice when you click on a bonus dialogue option. You just have it earned or unlocked if you have enough points, which is fine, but maybe not enough if you were expecting a super complex dialogue system. Still, I think it works. Where it is really interesting is that your character also has a backstory that you choose at the start of the game.
I've never seen that before.
And this can give you usually...
That's really interesting. No, it's not. Bog standard. By really interesting, perhaps you mean bog standard.
Dialogue option and dictate a lot about how you are perceived and how people interact.
Oh my god.
So anyway, after all that, like this brief tutorial island area, you're then dropped into the first major open.
After all that, that brief tutorial island, is that a flubbed line? Is that meant to be a joke? I don't get it.
Zone, and you're given a handful of objectives, and you quickly start stumbling upon a bunch of side objectives. Combat, in my opinion, is pretty awesome. It's not the most complex thing in the world, but it kind of feels like the next generation of something kind of like Skyrim's combat. Stick with me here. Look, no slight.
Feels like the next generation of Skyrim's combat. So like a new strain of HIV. I don't want it. I don't want it.
In Skyrim, but it's getting older. You play that game, you find yourself slashing left and right with your sword at an enemy that's kind of only...
In this game, you can walk forward, stab, walk backwards. It's a whole new dimension.
Reacting so much, and then it just keels over and dies. Or, you're tossing fireballs until your magic runs out. The rinse, repeat.
Right.
Avowed is that style of play, but with the responsiveness, feedback, and creativity.
Bro, you fired the gun and then like a third of a second later, the skeleton reacted to the impact. Responsive? Let's watch that again.
Is that style of play, but with the responsiveness, feedback, and creativity.
Shut up.
And chaos turned up to 11. Like, you're constantly dodging and dashing.
It looks like it's an online game that's lagging. What do you mean responsiveness? Is it because there's a bright flash? When you do things, there's a flash? Oh, Tim, did you talk about the ISP install guys being locked in and crawling in poo? I'll tell them after this. Or I could tell them now. You know what? We noticed in the terms of service and the terms to have a guy come and drill a hole in your wall to get the internet cable through. It warned us, don't film them. And Lucky asked the guy who came, is that in there? Because people do that a lot. And he said, yeah, they'll do that. And you know what else they'll do? They will lock us in the house. If they do the speed test and it's not up to what was promised on the day of installation, like right after the hole's drilled and they put the wire through, apparently people will lock the broadband installation guys in their house and not let them leave. There are additionally people who will have a front garden and a dog and let their dog cover it in shit to the degree that they will cancel the installation and say, we are not working, crawling through shit to bring a cable to your house. An actual health hazard out front, and the people don't think about it. And are just happy to have that in front of their houses, apparently.
Satisfying block system. You can hold down the button to charge for more powerful strikes.
Pretty sure you can do that in Skyrim.
And ranged and magic and melee all just feel...
They did say something really scary, though. They said there's nothing we can do about that. They're saying it's ridiculous to lock us in the house, right? There's nothing we can do about that. Immediate thought is, of course, you're just the guy installing the cable. But then he says, nothing we can do about that because it's something gone wrong on the Swedish side. It's something that happened in Sweden. What the hell do you mean? Is the signal going all the way from Sweden to us and back? They were saying, oh, there's going to be one in London. Sorry, would it be like 10 gigabit speed if it was a local node or something? I don't know.
Equally fun. This is where the miracle is, in my opinion. I usually tend to roll...
The miracle of Avowed. Hang on, this guy's been paid. What is this?
Equally fun. This is where the miracle is, in my opinion. I usually tend to roll the same type of character in RPGs, but because everything felt equally fleshed out and...
Fleshed out. Did it? Did it.
Satisfying?
Is that another way of saying equally viable? You get the same numbers out of everything, perhaps?
Made me mess around more, experiment more. Your character traits and abilities can trend towards a playstyle, like I said, but you still have a degree of...
It looks so bad, man! What's that really clunky but soulful? Is it called Outward or something? There's some sort of clunky but very, very high amount of soul RPG. I'd rather play that.
Freedom and flexibility. Playing a ranged character is a blast, thanks to charged shots like ADS, slow-mo, and critical hits, and again, just really powerful hit feedback for nailing a shot. And then magic makes you feel like a badass, from getting a grimoire.
Magic makes you feel like a badass. Oh, I can peep if it's Outward. It's the one I played briefly. It's the one where you go back to the little fishing town when you die. Backpack sim sounds about right.
You're running around with like a magic spell book that lets you cast different spells on the fly, to dual wielding magic wands and just blast.
Mom, I wasn't doing an OnlyFans shoot. It's a video game. I'm dual wielding magic wands. I feel like a real badass holding these two rods. Shut up.
Blasting dudes, it's satisfying.
What?
To dual wielding magic wands and just blasting dudes.
Dual wielding magic wands and just blasting dudes. If you play like a modern mainstream single player game, you're just gay. That's what it is. To play a modern single player experience is to be gay. Dual wielding, I was rubbing the wands and just blasting dudes all over the place. I felt like a badass.
It's satisfying. Or like maybe you run around with a dagger and a pistol, Dishonored style. I did that a lot.
Yeah, it looks like Dishonored but terrible. Earlier, when you were fighting with the sword and pistol, it looked like something was wrong with Dishonored.
Or cast magic and shoot dudes in the face. Or maybe you just like to run around with a big hammer or a sword and shield. The game gives you 2 loadouts that you can swap on the fly. So sometimes maybe...
Damn, and are they all just, equally effective? It doesn't look like you're swapping for any real particular reason. I guess the root is cool, but you know what I'm saying?
You have a sword and shield to mix it up, and then you press Y and you instantly swap to casting magic and shooting bullets. The game wants you to experiment and mess around, and I just really loved the degree of freedom here. Plus,
it looks so slow as well.
You're also using throwable items and whipping out your companion.
You know what I like? I like when you make a build, you're going in blind to a game, and like maybe the build seems good at the start, and then you see how the build interacts with the world, and for your playthrough, you'll notice, wow, this section was really tough. This fight was really tough the way I made my character, but this was easy and it was good for this, good for that. I wonder how it would be if I did it differently. This everything will always work shit is horrible. I hate it. What else is sick as well is you might just take an interest in one kind of build, and then it sucks and sucks and sucks, and then you find an item or something that brings your shit online, and it suddenly rules. Stuff like that is amazing.
Ability wheel that stops time. So you can have one of your characters do like a big stun attack on a cooldown. Maybe they like bind up an enemy, stuff like that. Then you also have your own.
Now we're talking about BDSM. You can, if you want to blast all over their face even easier, you can tie them up first.
Own abilities that you can use on the fly as well in the.
He's swapping. Siffy, here's the thing. In like Doom Eternal, you're swapping weapons for a reason. In this, he's just doing it just because, and it doesn't mean anything. It's not
wheel or matched to the D-pad, and these are pretty good. I embraced some of the stealthier stuff, like trapping enemies to set them up for a long-range snipe, or going invisible to give myself a little extra time to flank. Look, battles are freaking chaotic.
Freaking chaotic. Not really. It looks really, really slow. What are you talking about?
Do have a degree of challenge, and a lot of times in the game, you're gonna hit points where enemies are just leveled above you. It can make you feel like you.
Thank you, I hate
Hey
Twitch.
Everyone, just got here. Why are you watching Morrowind gameplay?
Shut up. Look, I love Morrowind. Morrowind looks way clunkier and weird than this. But that's because it's really a dice roll system represented by what looks like action gameplay. It is not an action game.
You took a wrong turn and you're just encountering a lot of enemies that are just complete sponges, but it's kind of just the name of the game here.
Thank you, Lupus Logos.
It's fine. I don't mind it.
Is that wolf logic?
But the characters constantly calling out that your equipment isn't good enough is kind of annoying. But like, long story short, there is a good amount of challenge here that I really liked. You have to really pay attention. You have to really be constantly engaged and
Are you fucking retarded? This guy just rooted a huge guy with a hammer. He successfully rooted a guy with a hammer, waited for the hammer to come down, and then dodged forward into the huge attack. What is wrong with this reviewer? I need to see that again.
Here that I really liked. You have to really pay attention.
Good move. You have rooted a giant guy who could presumably smash your shit.
You have to really be.
You have a pistol?
Constantly engaged and
Let's just shove my head under the hammer as it comes down. Why would you put this in your video?
Enemies from afar are trying to throw speed.
One, why would you do it? Two, zoom in to the rooted guy, let him hit me, zoom back, then shoot him.
Spears at you, enemies up close are trying to punch you in the face. It's good. Look, even if I have other complaints that I'm going to get to in a bit that, left me kind of feeling a bit meh on things, it feels like Obsidian really hunkered down, figured out, and crushed the combat system here, and made a really cool, fun thing. And I hope to see it trickle down into their next projects, big time. Unfortunately, it takes a while to find really...
The guy hits the ground, there's a massive red circle warning you of an AoE, and then it comes out. It's so dumb. It looks so bad.
Good loot. It feels like sometimes, weapon-wise, it's few and far between for a decent chunk of the game, and that kind of hurts some of the RPG potential. But when you do get a good...
Weapons are few and far between. That hurts my potential to roleplay.
Legendary weapon or a piece of armor, it is substantial. Maybe armor ups your speed or carry capacity, while a cool axe can cast frozen spell effects when you hold...
A cool axe can cast frozen spell effects. This is like an executive at the company being asked to sell a game, and they've never played a game before. This is so weird.
The attack button. And the game wants you to hold on to stuff. A lot of the loop is spent around rummaging and looting and clicking on picking up a million little dumb crafting ingredients that, are pretty forgettable, but back at your base camp, you can dump all of these into upgrading existing weapons that you already have. Well,
You're just a mouse in a maze. You're just a rat in a maze.
yes, it's like a simple thing of holding.
It's not even an online game where you're grinding this stuff and trying to outgrind other people or gonna make something really unique. It's a single player game designed to waste your fucking time meaninglessly.
Something to unlock a thing and make the numbers
It's the gameplay equivalent of just a progress bar filling.
go up.
Horrendous.
It's a good way to incentivize you holding on to a special piece of equipment that you might just really like. The loadout stuff is fairly simple, with like light, medium, or heavy armor types affecting your stamina and giving you resistance and all types of those RPG stats. It's a whole armor set, like one thing.
Do any of them really matter, though?
So it's not like you have pants and shoulders separate. There's also a clothing tier for boots
It's not like you have pants. Man.
and gauntlets and stuff.
Back in the day, us real RPG heads got mad at the trend of gloves being one piece instead of having left and right gloves. Now it's like, yeah, it's really great. Your outfit is just one inventory slot.
Stuff like that specifically. These just give you smaller bonuses sometimes, like speed, carrying capacity, resistance, stuff like that. Look, even if the game isn't overflowing with creative loot, the exploration is still worthwhile. The way these worlds are constructed, they feel incredibly dense and full of...
You've just shown us a bunch of empty set pieces. Like, just looks like you're running through something put on the table of a D&D DM who has too much money with nothing in them.
some life with weird little secrets around every corner. You know, a hidden cave, like an underground thing.
Underground thing. I even found a map with 4 things on it.
Treasure chest behind some old vines or a waterfall. Maybe I find an old shack. You're really consistently stumbling.
There's some, like, old shitty crack den. The game's amazing. What is going on?
Every single image has so many things going on.
So dense.
Stumbling upon stuff in these heavily handcrafted, hand-built areas that encourage you to poke around. Loot and items and stuff of
Items.
interest make a little twinkling magic sound, so it kind of makes you like try.
They literally jingle keys. No matter what stat you pick and no matter what you do alongside those stats, you'll succeed. And by the way, they have like little crack dens that the developers jingle keys in front of. Do you not feel patronized? Do you not feel condescended to by the game design?
Look around and thoroughly explore an area to find stuff, sometimes doing some weird creative and unconventional stuff to get there. The game also uses abilities and items to pretty good effect to explore and even solve these little mini environmental puzzles you stumble upon. The electricity, maybe some fire, or maybe cross a big body of water with some ice. Maybe you don't have the magic casting weapon to freeze the water to get across.
It's just bears standing up.
Toss a freeze grenade.
Here's our new monster. It's a bear, but he always stands up.
In there. Have your partner burn down some spider webs to get through a cave.
Oh no, it is just a normal bear who happened to be briefly standing. Never mind. They would never be as exciting as my joke about them being unexciting.
This happens in story mission areas, but it's where you mess around and
Motherfucker, did you just miss?
spider webs to get through a cave. This happens in story mission areas, but it's where you mess around and
Oh no, he like did a lock on and then fired. I thought that first noise was...
discover on your own exploration is where it's just simple, cool, and pretty creative. But that does lead us to the negatives here. I did play on Xbox.
There is nothing really cool about a linear game where you can come across a huge spooky bear and just go bam, 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 and it's gone. That is for a game where you farm and are going to grind a million and need to kill them effortlessly.
Series X, and performance was completely playable, but with a bit of inconsistency.
What is that attack animation, bro? Look at him
Was
go!
completely playable, but with a bit of inconsistency in the frame rate. Not quite a rock-solid 60 in performance mode for me, and that was disappointing. Along with that, the game did seem to occasionally downscale to keep up, like especially in some busy areas, resulting in some fuzzy-looking textures and trees and characters. Not all the time, but like I said, occasionally noticeable when you're exploring an open area or the detailed towns and cities, which I will say, side note, the cities here are detailed and really, really well done. Other than that, though, performance-wise, no significant glitches or crashes or anything bad in my experience. And that stuff aside, the game is visually gorgeous. You know, the art direction, the color palette, the vibrancy, the detail on some NPCs, some really good stuff. While the
It feels like I'm looking at some guy's portfolio. Some guy who hasn't done a real job yet's portfolio.
The music didn't hit me. The strange, weird vibrancy and detail of the world definitely did. But the real negative for me was just like what I alluded to at the start, just not really enjoying the adventure. Now, this stuff, like I said, is super subjective. It's going to come down to, like...
Yeah, it all is. Stop saying that.
Individual player preference, man. Look, I like the Fellowship. You might like Return of the King more. It's how it goes. But for me, the game just couldn't get its hooks in me. And to be honest, it felt like it didn't really try. It feels very, very focused and excited about exposition and mountains of dialogue explaining lore that isn't really relevant to the moment.
My favorite thing I've seen is that little chicken running past him.
Characters, other than a select few...
Look, opening a door doesn't have to blow you away. I feel like even if you interacted with the door and it opened on its own without an animation, that would be fine. This...
lore that isn't really relevant to the moment. Characters, other than a select few...
That is obscene! That is deranged. Door opening. Like...
often don't have a lot of heart or charm. They just go on and on and on about...
I would rather there not be an animation than see that.
About the smallest things. There is so...
It's like a scuffed Doom Eternal glory kill. Zoom in, touch it, but then looks wrong.
So much dialogue in this game, and I love dialogue heavy games. Look, I don't even need voiceovers. I like big, long, lengthy text boxes. I don't care. I am for these types of games. But with Avowed, the game just feels overly wordy to its detriment. It just drones on and on. Look, maybe if I was a
So you can really identify with it, right? You feel represented, yeah?
diehard Pillars of Eternity fan, I'd feel differently. I know some of you guys are out there. I've met you. So you might feel the complete opposite and absolutely love what they're feeding you here. The game is excited to tell you as much as possible about Aora and the Pillars of...
The guy in the middle looks like, wow, I woke up in a medieval fantasy world. He looks like he got isekai'd here. He doesn't look like he lives in this setting.
Eternity universe, but it feels like it loses sight of the smaller stuff. Companions, for instance, feel kind of flat. Only Kai, your first companion...
If I came across someone who looked like that in real life, the blue guy, I would kill and skin him.
Is the memorable one. I think he's pretty memorable. He's kind of low-key, he's a little bit sassy, and his story slowly unravels to you.
Damn. James Cameron is going to come after these guys with a DMCA claim.
Also, he's voiced by Garrus from Mass Effect, so that's probably my subconscious bias. But look, the long story short of it is, I just wasn't intrigued by the game's core mystery. I didn't have that carrot on a stick that I think I need in these games. Look, I love the overarching elements, like I mentioned earlier, like how the universe handles death and reincarnation, but that overly expository dialogue really just did me in, and I found myself...
The one on the right looks like she's, again, been warped in there from modern day real life, and the one on the left looks like she's cosplaying. She doesn't...
way more eager to just get out and get killing
it's
skeletons
so bad.
and exploring and stuff. But with Obsidian...
It's so aesthetically horrendous. Bitch on the right looks like she should be in a Spider-Man game. You should see her just walking on the streets of New York.
Games, half the magic is not in the RPG gameplay, but in the characters, the story, the world, the adventure, your reason to keep playing. You were excited to see who the hell you're going to run into next in the world of Fallout New Vegas. You're guided by the mysterious Kreia, and you learn about the Mandalorians through Mandalore himself in Knights of the Old Republic 2. Look, characters in these types of RPGs
this looks
are
like
the linchpin.
ass.
But in Avowed, it just wasn't a motivating factor for me playing, and I was really disappointed by that. Again,
the movement looked like you're just sliding around on the ground.
Story, character
so
stuff.
weird.
I can be wrong. You might love this lore or fall in love with a good companion. Good. I'm happy to be wrong. But I can only speak to my experience. Avowed, again, for me, has been good, but not great.
I presume that was an actual backstab, but when you trigger a backstab, they just instantly turn around and you hit him in the front. That is the least satisfying assassination of all time.
love playing it. I love running around this world doing stuff. I just didn't really care about the story or the characters or anything. And the game does spend a lot of time on that. So it's significant. I think the game will absolutely find an audience. And I think many reviews and impressions will probably be a little more positive than mine. But either way, I'm still glad Obsidian got a cool ass combat system here. And I'm still a big
It's not, though. It's not.
fan of the studio. And I'm excited to
Why are
see
you
what's next for
lying
'em.
to our face? Well, we can see it.
Either way. But hey, that's a before you buy. You know how this works by now. I give you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion. And now I want to hear yours down in the comments. What are you feeling with Avowed? Were you interested
don't want to hear
with the
mine.
trailers? Were you locked in? Were you not? Do you
don't
like
wanna hear
Obsidian
it.
games? Let's talk about this stuff. We'll be down in the comments, but of course, if you want to find me and yell at me
Wiggle,
directly,
wiggle, wiggle,
you can
slap.
find me on all those social media
Wiggle, wiggle,
platforms
wiggle,
at Jake
slap.
Baldino, as well as
Oh, did you see that reaction speed to the AoE attack warning?
my other YouTube channel. Just look up my name.
Incredible.
Jake Baldino.
Lightning
But
reflexes.
If this video helped you out, maybe, you know, helped steer your decision playing it at all, the gameplay, anything like that.
To be fair, this video has absolutely guaranteed that I will not, even as a meme, purchase this to play for 2 hours on stream.
Clicking the like button does help us out. We appreciate it. But
To be fair,
thank you very much for watching.
It has,
and
in
we'll
a
see you guys
sense,
next
saved me money. Potentially. If in a moment of weakness I would have purchased it. Not likely, though. But you played Redfall? Yeah, because it was free. Or rather, I already had Game Pass, so I played it. This is also on Game Pass. I don't currently have Game Pass. I will still not waste my time on it. Okay?
Yes!
The comments know what's up. The comments know what's up. I have no idea what you just said. Ah, Ship of Theseus. I gotcha. Obsidian switcheroo. I like that classic tree with all the hanged people on it.